Hello everyone, welcome to Pete CD Vinyl World. Today I was going to do something that I haven't seen a lot of people do, if any actually, and that's rank the studio albums of Pete Townshend from The Who. So before I get to that, if you like these videos, please subscribe and hit the like button. So Pete Townshend only has 7 solo albums, believe it or not counting like the Scoop compilations of demos and a couple live releases. And included in the seven, I'm going to include the Rough Mix album with Ronnie Lane, simply because he has so few solo albums anyway. So it's kind of like The Who. The Who doesn't have a lot of solo studio albums as well for a band that's been around since the mid-60s. So it's surprising he has so few, since he was such a prolific writer. First became aware of him probably in the early days of MTV, along with The Who. If you had MTV early on, you remember most of the videos were actually rock, classic rock, metal. It wasn't until about 83 that when Thriller came out that MTV became the MTV we knew in the 80s, mostly pop, Madonna, Michael Jackson, and they would have, like, you know, classic rock hour or hard rock shows here and there. But the first year or two of MTV, The Who and Pete Townshend videos were all over it. They were treated as that they were like this contemporary artist. So let's get started. Coming in at number 7 is Iron Man, musical by Pete Townshend. This album came out in '89, kind of released at the same time that they were doing their reunion tour. They were doing a stadium reunion tour playing Tommy, and first time they had been back together since, I believe, '82 and the It's Hard tour, which was their farewell. So this story is loosely based on the Iron Giant, which came out, I guess, about 10 years later, is based on the same story, I guess. A lot of Broadway-ish type songs on here. There is a few really good songs. I Won't Run Anymore. Pretty good Townshend song. There's a couple songs actually sung by John Lee Hooker on here. A Friend is a Friend is another Pete Townshend ballad. That got some airplay on classic rock radio at the time because they were promoting their reunion tour, The Who. And coincidentally enough, there's actually 2 Who tracks on here. First one is Dig, which is an original song. It's pretty good. Second one, they did a cover of Fire from Arthur Brown. That one's just okay. It's a lot of sampling and electronic drums and keyboards. It doesn't really sound like The Who, but Dig is pretty good, I have to say. What else? A Fool Says is pretty good also. I ranked this lowest because it's not really a solo album per se, more like a soundtrack to a Broadway play. I don't believe it was ever on, you know, Broadway or play. I mean, maybe it was later on, but at the time I don't believe it was. It's kind of an odd album to release at the time. You know, and that's the thing. Even when The Who got back together and did Endless Wire, Pete Townshend's always going for these like rock opera type albums, and a lot of them you don't even know, you can't even follow the story really, and it just becomes tedious after a while. But that's coming in number 7 for me. Number 6. Again, another concept rock opera, Psychoderelict. This one came out in '93. I'm rating it above that one because there's only one song on here I think that Pete doesn't sing. And English Boy was a pretty good single from the album. And there is probably 4 or 5 really good songs on here. Let's Get Pretentious is pretty good. I Am Afraid. Don't Try to Make Me Real. That was a good song also. But again, I'm not really sure what the storyline is. Luckily, I found a copy of the CD that's the music only, so it just has the song. If you get the regular album, I believe it has all this dialogue between songs. And if you saw the concert video from this tour at the time it was released, there's all these actors and stuff on stage. And, it would have been really cool at this time for him to just release a straight ahead solo album. And, this came out in 93. This is actually his last solo release. So it's been almost 30 years from a full-fledged solo album there. But, yeah, this is okay. If you see it cheap, I would recommend it, or if you're a Townshend fan. Coming in next at, what do we have here? Number 5, I'm going to do Rough Mix, the album we made with Ronnie Lane. This came out in 77. Big hit off of here that you've probably heard on classic rock radio is My Baby Gives It Away. Very Who-like song. Probably the only real rocker on here, I would say. The Ronnie Lane songs are almost like an Irish folk type music, which are pretty good. I would have rather them have done, something together where they were like trading vocal lines maybe, or Hard to Hang On To is another well-known song from here from Pete. Street in the City is a pretty good one. Overall, it's a really pretty good album. Sounds good, well produced, but not as good as some of the others. Next up, this is number 4. Who Came First? This is actually his first solo release. I believe this came out in 1972. So it has a couple of songs you might recognize from the Who versions, Pure and Easy, and a song called Nothing Is Everything, which is actually Let's See Action. Both of those were B-sides on some of the Who's Next singles. And if you get the deluxe version of Who's Next, I believe the Who's singles are on there. They might even be on Odds and Sods. And it's hard to keep track of all their singles and everything because most of their hits are actually not on their studio albums. But not sure why this album's not talked about a lot. I don't know. Obviously, I don't remember at the time if this was like not a big hit or not well regarded. Maybe it's thought of as an album with Mayor Baba, but really it's pretty much straight ahead rock and roll, acoustic rock. And ironically, Ronnie Lane does sing one song on here, Evolution. Again, another Irish folky type song. But Pure and Easy, Forever's No Time at All, Nothing Is Everything, Time Is Passing, Heartache, Sheridan Gibson, Contact. These are all really good songs. So when I got this, I was actually surprised that this album is not talked about more. And I'm surprised that Pete doesn't have the career that some other artists that were in big name bands have, like Eric Clapton or Steve Winwood or guys like that. I mean, Pete had a couple of big albums which are coming up, but maybe it's because he didn't release a lot of material, maybe because he never toured until 1993, but not very well talked about his solo stuff. So the top 3 were tough to really put it in an order, but this is my order today because they're all really good. Coming in at number 3, I'm going to rank All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes, 1982. Yeah, this one's good from start to finish, including the song The Sea Refuses No River, which I believe Roger Daltry wanted the Who to put that on It's Hard. Townshend at the time was accused of saving the best songs he was writing for his solo albums at the time rather than the last 2 Who studio albums they did with Kenny Jones. But a couple of actual hits on here. Face Dances Part 2, that was all over MTV when it first came out. North Country Girl, he plays a lot solo, acoustically. And Slit Skirts, that was another big hit video. This one, though, overall, and I'm going to mention that on another album coming up, but this one has a very English pop or Brit pop feel to some of the songs, which I don't hear on a lot of his other albums. I only hear that on this one and another one. But yeah, on here I would say the best 4 songs are Stop Hurting People, Sea Refuses No River, Face Dances Part 2, Slit Skirts, and North Country Girl. That's 5, right? Yeah, so 5 killer songs, and the others are pretty good as well. So that's why I'm coming in at number 3. Surprisingly, I'm not going to rank this one number 1. I'm going to rank it number 2, Empty Glass. This is his second solo album, but like as I said with Who Came First, a lot of people think this is his debut. Maybe because it was 8 years in between that and this one. But big hits off of here, Rough Boys, Let My Love Open the Door. It's still played a lot. A Little Is Enough. That one's always played a lot. And the rest of the songs, really good too. I Moved, I Am an Animal, Jules and Jim, Keep on Working, Empty Glass, Gonna Get You. I would say this is his, overall, his most rock and roll. Most of the songs on here are guitar driven, as opposed to the other albums are mostly half and half keyboard driven or acoustic guitar. But this one is probably his most rocking album, especially with Rough Boys. I think that was another one that Daltry wanted on maybe Face Dances. But yeah, this is considered a classic, and rightly so. And I would say most people would probably rank this as number 1. But my number 1 is going to be my favorite. It may not be his best one, but that's White City. This came out in 85, right? Yeah, okay. So Give Blood, really good track. David Gilmour plays guitar on there. And this is the other one I would mention, that a lot of the songs have sort of an English or Britpop feel to them. Brilliant Blues, Secondhand Love, Crashing by Design. And also has Face to Face, which was a big video hit at the time. Sounds really good, this album. And I really wish he had done something in between this and Psychodelic. That was an 8-year gap, and he sort of missed the boat, I think, from him becoming a major star. He did actually do the Iron Man, but I think that got overshadowed by the Who's reunion tour. So anyway, that's my number 1. Number 2, number 3, number 4, Who Came First, Rough Mix, Psychodelic, and finally, rounding out the list, Iron Man. So if you're a Who fan and you don't have a lot of Townshend, I would suggest picking them up. You could probably pick up the CDs places for $1. But I also recommend getting the Scoop double albums, which are basically a collection of demos, unreleased songs from his personal recordings, and they have a lot of Who songs in demo form, which over the years, and I'm not sure who said this, if it was Pete Pardo or somebody else, mentioned that they preferred Pete Townshend's voice over Daltry's, and I think over the years that's kind of the way I think now, especially over the last couple albums. So anyway, you want to give me your top 5 or your top 7 Townshend albums, do that, or just give me your favorite. Anyway, thanks for watching these videos. Please subscribe. Thank you.